This is gamesatwork.biz with your hosts, Michael Martin, Michael Rowe, and Andy Piper. This is your weekly podcast about gamification, gaming technology, and play. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone, not of any organization which we have been, are, or will be affiliated. This is episode 558, Exploding Bananas. Hello and good day, everyone. This is Michael Martin. I am one of your three co-hosts, joined by a second co-host here at gamesatwork.biz. Welcome back to our frequent listeners and flyers, and welcome to the show for you new folks. You've got 557 other episodes to catch up on if you are a brand new listener. But we are excited to get going today, and I'm joined by Andy Piper while Michael Rowe, our third co-host, is away. Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Michael. It's nice to have you back and see your smiling face on the other side of the virtual wires here. It was fun having you in last week.
It was.
I hope we didn't British everybody out too much, but got a bit of a back to our regular mixture of accents and viewpoints, I guess. So, yeah, but we've still got a fairly game-heavy
show, yeah.
Not completely games-centric as last week's was, but we've got some games to talk about, at least at the top here, with some generally speaking, some smaller things than the big kind of AAA stuff we talked about with Ian last week.
Yeah, exactly. And some will kind of harken back to what he had to say. I'm really excited about what we have here this week, too, because the very first one up is really games and business sort of combined. So we have this game called StonkRider, which kind of is an interesting way to call it. But their tagline is motocross meets Wall Street. So you can drive along on your motorcycle and follow a particular stock and see if you can manage to stay on the motorcycle and ride it all the way from where it is to where it's going.
It kind of reminds me of some, and this will be another thing that I'm sure we'll call back to later in the show or as we go through here, some 8-bit games of that era, like, the sort of Evel Knievel style motorcycle, motocross rally type games with a little rider. And in this case, I mean, stock charts tend to be quite spiky. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit more challenging than possibly some of those 8-bit games. But the fact that it all runs in the browser, I presume it's all written in JavaScript or WebAssembly or something along those lines.
Yes.
It depends how well you follow the stock market to know your stock ticker symbols. It gives you some suggested ones up front. But I think you can do kind of tricks and things off there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so give it a shot.
So StonkRider.com is where you're headed to find that one. I don't know how it performs on a mobile device. We're both on desktops right now, so it kind of works okay.
One of the games that's on our list for our discussion today is Big Walk off of thisiscolossal.com. And this reminded me very much of what you and Ian were talking about on last week's episode about how some of these large virtual experiences, you can just not follow the storyline, not do more than the 20 hours. You'll just be like, hey, let's go over here and ride the balloon and see what happens.
It's a really good example, actually. Yeah. So this is let's quickly hit on Big Walk here, and then I'll talk about what you just brought up. So, Big Walk is apparently a new game coming out in August from the same folks that did Untitled Goose Game, and the idea here is that it's a friendly, casual. I guess it's an MMO. It's a cooperative online walker-talker. So you're exploring this world with other cartoony characters, and I guess you can talk to them, but in other places you can't talk to them, so you have to communicate presumably by doing things in the game, which I think is quite fun. But to your point, we talked about Forza Horizon 6 last week, and as I said, that was one of the games that Ian brought with him to talk about that I had a chance to play with beforehand, and I had a bit more of a chance this week to play some more of it. And I do love the Forza Horizon games. It's just the right level of driving game for me. It's not super technical. Yes, it will reward you for being a better driver and knowing what you're doing, but it's not like your kind of the Gran Turismo or the Forza track racing games where you really need to be on your game. It it invites exploration. It invites you to get in a big 4x4 and go shooting off over the map, and that's exactly what I did yesterday. I was like, well, it's clearly waiting till kind of further in the story to introduce the mountains in the background over there, but I just want to go up to those mountains. So I'm not going to follow any of the pins that are on my map. I'm just going to get in my big kind of Ford 4x4, whatever it was, and just drive in a straight line, as no matter what's in the way, whether it's trees or waterfalls or whatever, and just drive over there. And it was a ton of fun. It was a lot of fun to follow on from that conversation last week.
Did you manage to make it to the edge of the map and kind of drive off the edge or something?
Did not. I was kind of wondering about that as well. I decided that wasn't my goal for the day, because then I kind of started chasing shiny things. And another thing with the Forza Horizon games is that they do put a lot of side quests and point gathering opportunities in your way. There are these kind of V-shaped boards that you can literally just drive through to get points, and then in the Japanese version there are these little Japanese mascots that you can just smash as you drive around, and you get points for that. So I had where I wanted to go in mind, up the top of the mountain over there, but then every time I saw a little marker show up on the map, I was like, right, let's take a left here.
Squirrel.
let's go. Yeah, exactly. Let's go and smash that and find out what we discover. So it was fun.
That's super cool. It reminds me, we didn't have this in our prep meeting, but Google had just set up a flight simulator kind of structure too, that has actually been sort of embedded within maps for a long time. Apparently, I remember seeing that somewhere earlier this week, and I need to take a look at that too, because what better place to have a game like that than in a mapping environment where you could kind of go anywhere too, right?
Cool.
Another game that lets you kind of go anywhere is, and I'm loving all the 8-bit stuff here, by the way, you know that, is a game called TinyWind. And this is identified from the mastodon toot of a pixel pirate sailing game with real-world physics, wind physics.
This is from David Bissett on Mastodon, and he's talking there about this. TinyWind.io is the website. Again, it's a browser-based app. Evidently, you can create an account and pay for additional features using Stripe, which was surprising to me, because a lot of these things where they want to have an in-game purchase of some kind are tied to a platform like iOS or Android. But this is a web game, so they say if you create an account with them and pay, then that unlocks all the features anywhere you go. It's a lovely game. I have so far recovered the Black Pearl and the Kohinoor Diamond. Kohinoor Diamond. I'm still only a deckhand, but I've been sailing around and destroying some Royal Navy ships. It's I wouldn't say it's 8-bit. It's pixelated style, but yes, it looks fun. On the subject of retro, and we've still got some more to come in a minute, I'm going tomorrow to the Retro Computer Museum. I went to a retro computer show about a month ago, actually, in Swindon. This one is in Leicester at the actual Retro Computing Museum. And they have an event called the Awesome World Famous Legendary Meet. The Awesome World Famous Legendary Gathering. Featuring retro games, friends, good food, hot and cold beverages, and live music.
Hopefully some cheese too.
And they may have, but they've got a number of rooms of retro machines that they're in Leicester. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. And then is it in November? September, I think. There's another event called, and I know there are a lot of these around the US, but this is the only one in the UK, the Vintage Computer Fest. I know they have a ton of the series of those around the US, but Vintage Computer Fest GB is happening in September. So I'm making this a bit of a retro year, kind of going back and looking at all the old classics.
Well, we'll have to watch your social media posts to see a few pictures of what you find interesting. I imagine that you might share one or two from your experience in Leicester. So hopefully you will anyway. Never know.
You never know. It's possible.
All right, so moving along from this pixelated game, there's another one called Gorilla, and it's a but apparently there's this game. Neither you nor I had heard of it before. It's a QBasic game from a good long while ago, and you can play it. And it's a game where you have two catapulty kind of gorillas that are able to throw bananas at one another, and you get points when your gorilla throws a banana and explodes on the opponent's banana, or gorilla, I should say. Sorry.
So evidently this is a classic game from 1991, I think it said, in the beginning, which I think was an IBM game, in fact, according to whatever showed up on the screen as we were going through the play exercise. It's got that kind of very classic DOS look with the old school IBM looking fonts. It really reminds me of Tanks or Worms, or one of those games.
That's what it was, Tanks. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's essentially the same thing, but just on a cityscape with gorillas instead of Tanks or Worms on a landscape. Michael and I both managed to... we didn't play against one another. We could have played against each other. I guess that's one of the things that they've done with this, is make it a web-based online multiplayer as well. So we probably should have done that while we were playing it, and individually in our local browser windows. We should have probably challenged one another, but we both individually blew ourselves up with our own bananas, which was quite entertaining.
Now the next one that we have on the list is a game called Ribby, which is kind of fun way to experience baseball. Game? Well, no, it's more a visualization, if you will, right? So
it's the actual baseball games, right? I mean, so this was on Jason Kotker's blog, which is where we picked it up, and it seems like you can watch an actual live baseball game, pitch by pitch, in like an 8-bit style, or again a pixelated. They're not really 8-bit. They're much more 16 or 32-bit.
Oh yeah,
kind of early days.
They really are. Yeah.
All of these things that claim they're 8-bit, they're much more high res than the old 8-bit computers really could render. But anyway, you click in, you get a live game. So currently we've got Toronto, Chicago is showing here, the only live game at the moment. It's I'm clicking through, and it's showing me a baseball game in like a kind of a pixelated TV screen. Have you got the same?
I'm seeing the same thing. Yeah, there's runners on first and third, and I'm waiting for this pitch. There's a base hit, and they just got an RBI. Chicago up 7-0 over Toronto.
Yeah. Well, okay. So looks like we are watching the same thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. And again, not knowing not very much about baseball, although I have played softball. It's kind of cute.
It's kind of cute.
A nice thing. And the idea is you can kind of put it in a mini window and then have it picture in picture and have it in the corner of your screen, so you can watch the baseball in a little kind of mini viewer, which is fun.
Michael and I, once upon a time, used to play a game called Small Ball, which was a baseball game where you would recruit your players and you'd send them off to various training. So this guy would go to the batting cage. This one would be, doing fielding work and stuff like that. That was more 8-bit than this for sure. And you're right, the resolution on these guys is certainly better.
I love this style. I don't get me wrong. I absolutely love this kind of pixel art style. But I think for these things to call themselves 8-bit is a big stretch.
Yes.
It's kind of muddying the waters of our memories about what these computers were capable of. I think the Gorilla.JS graphics is much more indicative of an 8-bit computer.
Ooh, and if you expand the screen, you get to see the bookshelf and other things too.
Yeah, you can click between seeing the whole room, or clicking on sitting on the couch, zooming up just to the TV. Or watching the whole screen, or again in the mini viewer going on in the corner of your desktop, which is potentially useful for those of you with massive workspaces and just wants to keep the corner of an eye on
the one thing I'd say I'm most disappointed in is that it is only focused on Major League Baseball and not on the College World Series, which my hometown team here from Chapel Hill is playing in tomorrow to win the national championship, best of 3 against Oklahoma. So that game starts tomorrow.
I have to imagine what they've done here is build an engine. You get the same kind of sense of view because you're always looking at the whole baseball diamond. I think that's what it's called, right? Please tell me that's what it's called.
You got it right.
and then they just feed in, what the action is based on, and whatever their live feed is, because it's clearly not the actual real pitch that you're seeing.
No.
Even it's a computerized version of the real pitch that they are putting data into, so you have a sense of what's happening. But it's very cleverly done.
So tell me this, and then we'll get off of it because we got other things to talk about. But are there any sports, whether it might be cricket or others that you can think of, where people will do the charting of all the statistics? Like, people will have a spreadsheet, and you could
100.
You could do every last
cricket
bit.
The cricket is a great example, because you have Wisden's Almanac, which is the famous book that's been published for many years. I'm now looking it up. Wisden Cricketer's Almanac. There we are, the most famous sports book in the world, published every year since 1864, which has got all of the comprehensive match records, obituaries, feature essays, everything.
Because
and
is,
then of course people do that themselves, but this is like the official, as it's called on Wikipedia here, the Bible of Cricket, published every year. So
that's code, if you think about it, right? Because you could essentially watch that game that was recorded in that way and see it play out start to finish. Right.
And I know that that's the case for baseball games as well, right?
Yes.
People have these encyclopedic memories of exactly like what action happened when Babe Ruth was around or whatever, going back to, the classics of those eras, right? So
yeah, I was never big baseball, but I did once upon a time, back when we were living in the New York area. I would chart the Mets, and I would actually listen to the game, and I would record it as it happened. And for the people who really did that all the time, they could just look at a piece of paper and they could see the game in their heads.
And I'm sure that there are similar things for many sports, if not all, but the Wisden's is, a legendary
how cool.
volume that is in my kind of, I guess, in my long-term racial memory.
Awesome. I'm glad we had that talk. That wouldn't have happened if we didn't see this thing. So awesome games to play. Now, we're switching gears to some of the more physical implementations of things, and you've done more than a little bit with some 3D printing, but there's a layer-free version of 3D printing that is now coming from OpenCal. Tell me a little bit more about this.
So this is a form of lithography, and it is not at all straightforward. It's using a laser projector and photosensitive resin gel to form stuff. Basically, the concept is that it takes less than a minute to form objects inside of this gel. So the article here from Hackster says that the best analogy it can think of is a string art made on a circular board, with each string being a ray of projected light. There are also references in the same story to kind of Star Trek replicators, in the sense that it's very fast, right? So there are examples in the pictures here of Rodin's Thinker sculpture being created out of this gel. This is a project from UC Berkeley that mentions OpenCal, so the idea this is an open project, and they reckon that the build cost could be around $1,600, which at $600 of which is the laser projector.
That's
the rest
not that
of it
expensive.
is essentially the motors and the kinds of things you get for a 3D printer anyway. And frankly, $1,600 is the price of a really good 3D printer these days. Probably the top end is a 3D printing, and any of these replication type devices is always going to be extremely high, but you're going to get an extremely good quality desktop 3D printer for $1,600 today. You'll get a low end one for a couple of $100, and it would still be a good one, because, for example, not that I'm a big fan anymore, but Bamboo Lab have got a sale on for their 4th birthday, and their entry level printers are on sale for $100, $150, $200.
Wow.
And they're good printers, because they really push the envelope in terms of what was possible with these machines. I'm disappointed in their pivot to being very closed source and patent encumbered, but that's another story. Anyway, we're talking here about the Open Cow, and it looks like a really interesting device. I'm curious to see how it gets commercialized, if it gets commercialized. I'm curious to see real world results with it, because you can only get so much from watching a video or looking at pictures, but it seems like a fascinating technique.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool stuff. And we've talked about some other things that are like this in the past too, about generating 3D prints out of gels that then you would break away. But this is actually generating it from the gel itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And look, we also got a link here from Michael Rowe, who spent last week doing his WWDC education, and that was talking about something that we've all been very interested in for a long time and discussed at length over time, is the concept of collaborating on 3D design and discussing 3D in metaverse worlds or in virtual world objects from 3 different perspectives. Let's say we might all have virtual headsets and be remote from one another, but be able to see the same virtual object in high resolution, high definition, spin it around, open it up, take it apart, and comment on it between us. And Michael shared a WWDC video. Even the first minute and a half of that video shows how far we've come, assuming you have that $2,500 Apple Vision Pro headset.
Exactly.
Talking of $2,500 technology, Snap, the company, has had another swing at augmented reality and smart glasses. They've done them a few times now. They've done the spectacles, which were their kind of low-end, brightly coloured ones with the big lenses in the corners. This is going completely the opposite direction. This is what's the price? The list price on these guys?
$2,195. Yeah,
$2,195. You see, so almost the price of a Vision Pro. They're not
well
as heavy as a Vision Pro.
Vision Pro is $3,500. So there's another.
Oh, $3,500. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. But these look like they're pretty good. I mean, they've got 2 Snapdragon processors. They've got apparently games where if you 2 wearers make eye contact with one another, they've got some kind of connective technology there. You've got the ability to watch videos inside the glasses, but they're not a headset like the Vision Pro. But I do think that when Meta is pumping out the Ray-Bans, this is really quite ridiculous at a price point. I'm not sure who they're for.
Yeah, and they're not as designed forward as you might think. Now there's another article that we had here from TechCrunch that kind of links us right from the back to the front on the idea of slow tech, right? So the idea of walking and just walking in an environment, or taking technology and removing a number of the things that isolate us from one another is certainly something that's been gaining steam. We've talked about this before, about bricking your phone or having other things that kind of reduce your screen time. And it's kind of cool to see the resurgence even of older Apple technology to do the same.
I had a great conversation with a friend of mine, Kirsten Lambertson, about a week ago, we were talking about some of these stories that have been around recently about either slow tech or retro tech for teens in particular, a lot of them reaching for, CDs,
Walkmans.
Yeah, because they're overwhelmed by the range of content available on streaming, or frustrated about the lack of access to certain things, depending on the licensing with the streaming companies and all this kind of thing. So having your own physical content is great. I think this story about the success of some of these refurbished Apple devices, as you pointed out, like the original iPods, the ones without the shuffle, without any screen, where you don't have any real control. You just know that there's stuff on there.
Yeah. Skip to the next song. Skip.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some nice iPod-looking devices, modern ones running on sort of modern microprocessors, but they're not connected. They are just you plug them into your computer, you load on your music, and that's it. So I do think that's interesting. This is talking about this concept of slow tech, and I think one of the things I thought about was that notion with the walking game of it's about community, and but it doesn't have to be about whiz bang, big explosions and all of that sort of thing. It can be calm, it can be small experiences, and again with that walking game, the fact that they're talking about switching off voice in some instances, so you have to think more, interact more, rather than just blabbering as we do on a weekly basis. You have to think about who's in the space, what's happening, what the puzzle you want to solve, how to communicate the thing you're trying to solve. And I think that's one of the things I find from having offline reading devices for ebooks and those kinds of things as well.
100% agree. Well, I know we're getting short on time, but we had two last things we wanted to touch, right?
There are. So one of them is also in the same vein, is that Commodore, who came out with the Commodore Ultimate last year, having having acquired the brand and relaunched the old offline Commodore 64 as the Ultimate, they've now announced this Commodore callback flip phone, which is very much a physical phone with a flip phone with physical buttons. It does run a modern operating system, Sailfish OS, which can run some Android apps, but it blocks browsers, it blocks social media, it blocks all that kind of stuff. It's a phone with a few other things. It's got some chat apps on there like WhatsApp, but it's very retro. A lot of people I've seen this week talking about it, saying it's too expensive, but it depends how much you're into both that calmer tech experience and also that retro tech experience. But the one thing that I really wanted to include in this show, Michael, is our last link. What do you think of this one? Talk about this one for us.
Yeah, so Lego is revealing a new playable pinball set, which is really quite fun. Quite fun.
I mean, come on.
Right.
This is great. It's retro.
You can build it.
You can build it. It's playable. It's physical. It's Lego
got a
Space,
minifig,
which I love.
Yeah.
I think it's got two minifigs. It's got like the little baby space person and the full one. Now, I am going to Electromagnetic Field in a month's time, and the theme is space.
Oh.
So might have to have one of these to take along with me to play on the campsite. That could be fun. And I also think that this one is absolutely crying out for lighting and sound.
Oh,
so
my goodness,
I'm sure people are going to hack this as well.
Yes. That'll be fantastic. Well, I think we'll leave it there for now. Think about for a moment, friends and listeners, why did Commodore use 8020 to identify their model of their new phone? So think on that and let us know what you think when you come back to us next time on gamesatwork.biz.
See ya.
Bye. You've been listening to gamesatwork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are a part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song Big Blue. You can follow us on the Fediverse at mastodon.social and our website gamesatwork.biz.